Corporal Dax Morin expected to die in enemy hands. What he didn't expect was for a legendary alien general to kneel before him. The sky above Zephyria Prime was a canvas of deep violet, streaked with ash and the flaming trails of fallen ships. The war zone still burned behind him. Smoke clawed the horizon like dying fingers. Around him stood dozens of alien soldiers, tall, silver-skinned Zephyrians, clad in obsidian battle armor and bearing pulse blades that shimmered like frozen lightning. Dax stood in the middle of their circle, shoulders square despite his shredded uniform, and the blood drying down the side of his face. He had lost his entire recon unit 3 days ago. Crashed, surrounded, captured. The usual recipe for a closed casket burial. But instead of execution, something surreal happened. She approached, Eliza, the legendary General Eliza Vicar Thane of the Hylan Zephyrian Empire, the woman who commanded an entire fleet with a flick of her wrist. The warrior whose name human soldiers spoke like a curse and a myth. She should have ordered his death. Instead, she dropped to one knee, and then the other. Her men gasped. Dax stared, too stunned to move. She removed her helmet, revealing sharp cheekbones, silver blue skin kissed with faint glowing lines, and long white hair braided in ceremonial coils. Her violet eyes locked onto his. "I am Eliza, commander of the Sky Legion, warden of the Third Starfront, daughter of the Flame Pact," she said in a voice that was soft and strong all at once. "And I owe you a Veylan." "A what?" Dax croaked. "A life debt," she whispered. "My life, for yours." Dax blinked, still swaying on his feet. I pulled you out of a wrecked skiff, that's all. You were trapped. I didn't know who you were." "You could have left me," Eliza said, slowly rising to her feet. "Enemy or not, you risked your life for mine. On Zephyria, that act binds us." "You're telling me," Dax muttered, "that because I dragged you out of some flaming shuttle, now you're, what, my servant?" Eliza's lips twitched. "Not servant. Veylan. It is more sacred. I am yours to command, should you choose to accept the bond." Every soldier around them shifted uneasily. Dax could feel their eyes burning into his skin. His fingers twitched near the pulse cuffs, still locking his wrists. "I didn't save you for a reward," he said finally. "I saved you because it was the right thing to do. That," she said quietly, "is why I kneel." Hours passed. Dax was moved, not to a cell, but to a guest quarter inside a Zephyrian warship, hovering like a sleeping giant above the charred valley. He sat on a slab of obsidian that passed for a bed. His ribs ached. His mind raced. Across from him, Eliza stood with her arms folded, armor glinting beneath the alien lights. "You're taking this seriously," he said. "It is serious," she replied. "You've shifted the tide of war, whether you meant to or not." "I'm a corporal," he said, shrugging. "One step above cannon fodder. Yet you pulled me from fire when even my own would have hesitated." Silence stretched between them. Then Eliza stepped closer. "My people do not understand your kind. They think humans are reckless, emotion-driven, weak." "Some of us are," Dax said. "Some of us aren't. And yet, you act with honor. That changes things." He looked up at her. "Why me, Eliza?" "Really?" For a moment she hesitated. Her voice softened. "Because you didn't see me as a general. You saw a life worth saving." Dax looked away, heat rising in his chest. "You're not the only one who's lost. Everything." That night, she didn't leave. She stood by the window, watching the stars, and Dax, for the first time since the crash, slept without nightmares. The next morning brought whispers, the kind that slithered through the Zephyrian ranks like a viral pulse. She shares her quarters with the human. She honors a barbarian with Veylan. He must have used some trick, poisoned her mind. Dax heard them. Eliza didn't flinch. They ate breakfast in the glass view observatory atop the warship Vornix, with 2 moons staring down like gods. Eliza sat across from him, solemn and regal in her lighter command robes, her battle armor gone. It made her seem less untouchable, more real. "You don't talk much in the mornings," Dax said, chewing the alien equivalent of bread. "It was purple. It wasn't terrible." "I listen," she replied without looking up. "When you command fleets, you learn the silence speaks louder than reports." He chuckled. "I thought you'd be more intimidating." You still flinch when I reach for my cup. "Yeah, well," Dax grinned. "You also headbutted a tank in your last campaign." She arched a silver brow. "It was not a tank. It was a Skorath walker, and I only headbutted it because my blade broke." "Right," Dax muttered. "Totally different." Despite the lightness, tension lingered in the air, like static before lightning. Eliza was different this morning. Her eyes weren't just watching him, they were measuring him, thinking. "Something's wrong," he said finally. She sighed, and for the first time he saw it. Fatigue. "The council is split," she said quietly. "They do not want peace. Your presence, your humanity, threatens the narrative they've fed our people for decades." "So they'll kill me?" Dax asked. Eliza's fists clenched. "If they dare, I will tear down every throne myself." The air shimmered. Dax sat back. "You're serious?" "I am Zephyrian," she said. "But more than that, I am bound to you. That is no symbol. It is sacred. My oath is no decoration." He leaned forward. "Then why not use it? We can end this war together, human and Zephyrian, side by side." Eliza's eyes flickered. "There is a way, but it's not diplomacy. It's war." Later, in the strategy chamber, Eliza summoned a secret projection, a redacted battle map, black-labeled and sealed by Order 19 encryption. Even Dax, who'd served under Black Ops units, had never seen anything so restricted. "This is Crucible Protocol," she said. "Sounds friendly. It's not. It's a failsafe, a doomsday response. Our council plans to unleash it on the next human colony world, Siren 4. Dax felt the blood drain from his face. "My niece lives there," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "She's 9. Eliza's jaw tightened. "Then we stop it, you and I, together." "2 people?" he asked. "Against an empire? You forget," she said, stepping close, voice low and fire-lit. "I am not just anyone." And when she touched his hand, gently, barely, he didn't pull away. That night, Eliza brought him into her personal war shrine, a circular chamber filled with weapons, starstones, and banners marked in Zephyrian glyphs of honor, death, and victory. But she carried no weapon, just a crystal vial. "This," she said, offering it, "is the oath-binding flame. If you drink it, and I mark you, you become one of us. Not just bonded. Equal." "Equal?" Dax asked. She nodded. "In mind, in strategy, in power, you will see what I see, feel what I feel. It's risky, painful." He stared at the glowing liquid, then at her. "Do you trust me?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "Yes." She dipped a fingertip into the flame and traced a burning mark over his heart. He gasped as it seared his skin. Not pain exactly. More like being lit from the inside. Memories not his own flickered through his skull. Battles, laughter, a mother's lullaby in a language he didn't understand. When it was over, he collapsed against her, and for a moment, her strong arms held him close. Not as a general's. A woman, their foreheads touched, breath to breath. "You're in me now," she whispered. Always was, he replied, his voice ragged. She smiled. And then the war began. War erupted like a sleeping god woken in rage. Eliza and Dax didn't wait for council permission or military authorization. They commandeered the stealth cruiser Nyx Vera, one of the deadliest in the Zephyrian fleet, and loaded it with a small squad of elite defectors, Zephyrians who still believed in honor more than blind obedience. Their destination, Siren 4, the human colony targeted for annihilation. Their mission, stop the Crucible Protocol before it turned a lush green world into glass. Approaching orbit, came a voice from the flight deck. Dax stood beside Eliza, both in full battle gear. Her armor shimmered with radiant energy sigils, symbols of her rank and heritage. His own was modified Zephyrian tech, fused to human function, a gift she insisted he wear. It pulsed in rhythm with his heart now. Linked. Bonded. "Do you feel it?" Eliza asked softly, her violet eyes scanning the glowing blue-green planet. "Below." "Yeah," Dax said, "like my blood knows what's coming." She turned, and her fingers brushed his helmet, adjusting it with gentle care. "You've changed since Zephyria," she said. "Yeah, I fell for a war goddess," Dax muttered, forcing a smirk. "That'll do things to a man." Her eyes softened, but only for a breath. Then the moment cracked like thunder. "Missile lock incoming," the pilot shouted. "Council fleet! They knew we'd come!" The skies around Siren 4 exploded in bursts of plasma and swirling debris. 4 council warships dropped from warp like gods of death, weapons primed. The Nyx Vera dodged, and twisted between energy blasts. Dax and Eliza braced in the dropship as it detached mid-storm, falling like a meteor into Siren 4's upper atmosphere. "Targeting Crucible bunker," the pilot called out. "Brace for impact. 3 seconds." Eliza's hand found Dax's without thinking. One breath, one heartbeat, one shared gaze that said everything. "If we die together." The dropship slammed into dirt and steel. Hatches exploded open. Dax rolled, firing pulse bursts into approaching drone units. Eliza moved like lightning, her twin blades singing, cutting through machine after machine with alien precision. "Go left!" she shouted. "I see it." Dax ducked behind a scorched wall. "Main bunker entrance, we breach now." The Crucible bunker was a titanic underground fortress built by the Council to house the Omega device, an unstable fusion core designed to rip apart planetary tectonics from within. Dax blasted the lock open with a high-frequency grenade. The heat wave rushed over them. Inside, death. The chamber was guarded by black-cloaked zealots, Zephyrian extremists with silver eyes and minds burned clean by loyalty programs. Eliza didn't hesitate. "Stay behind me!" "No way in hell," Dax said, and they charged side by side. Gunfire, blade clashes, screams in 3 languages. Dax took a blade to the shoulder but kept moving. Eliza got clipped across the ribs but didn't falter. The bond between them glowed, literally. Their armor pulsed in unison, amplifying strength, speed, and awareness. They were more than soldier and general now. They were one. Finally, they reached the Omega Core, a swirling, unstable sun of artificial power, encased in a glass column of spinning rings and energy locks. Dax stared. "That thing goes off, and it'll vaporize 5 cities." "I can stop it," Eliza said, stepping toward the control altar. "Wait," Dax grabbed her arm. "That altar's alive. It's feeding off brainwaves. You can't link to it unless I offer part of myself," she finished. Her eyes didn't waver. "Let me do it," he said. "No." Her voice was firm, yet trembling now. "I'm stronger. I'm built for this. But I can take the pain." She stepped close, cupping his face. "You already did. When you gave me a choice. When you showed me another path." He stared at her, heart pounding. "I'm not losing you. You won't." And then she kissed him, not with desperation, but with faith. Eliza knelt before the core, closed her eyes, and linked. The room trembled. Lightning crackled from the ceiling. The altar screamed with resistance. Blood poured from her nose. Her body convulsed. "No!" Dax sprinted forward, but her voice cracked through. "The noise. I need you to believe, Dax. Believe in us." He dropped to his knees beside her, hands over hers, and then he felt it. The link opened. Two minds, one purpose. Their bond wasn't just emotional anymore. It was electrical, cosmic. They were rewriting code written in stars and steel. Together, they shut it down. The core dimmed. Silence followed. Then, cheering. The rest of the resistance team burst in, stunned but alive. The Omega device was neutralized. Siren 4 was safe. And in the center of the bunker, Eliza collapsed in Dax's arms, unconscious but breathing. Outside, beneath the green-gold sky of Siren 4, Dax held her as med drones circled overhead. He whispered into her ear, "You're not just a general. You're my star-born storm, and I'll follow you through fire." A hand squeezed his. Eliza had heard him and smiled. They returned as heroes and traitors. Word of the Omega device's shutdown swept through both Zephyrian and human channels like wildfire. Siren 4 had been spared, the Council's most devastating weapon neutralized. But the cost of defiance, especially from someone like General Eliza of House Vareth, was steep. Back on Zephyria Prime, the capital skies were blood-red the day their ship entered orbit. Dax stood by the viewing panel, watching twin moons emerge through the clouds. Below, fires burned, not from war, but from uprising. His and Eliza's actions had sparked more than rebellion. They had ignited hope. "They're rising," he said quietly. Eliza approached, her hair unbound for the first time since they met. Royal Zephyrian custom said a warrior only unbraided their hair when prepared to face truth or death. "They're scared," she replied, "but not of us. They fear change, and change is coming." The ship shuddered slightly as it began descent. "Protocols. Do we have a plan?" Dax asked. "Yes," she said, with steel in her voice. "We take it to the Council. I call for the right of flame." Dax blinked. "That's a blood duel, isn't it?" "It's older than even the Council," she said. "A relic law. One warrior from each side. If I win, the Council dissolves. The rebellion becomes legitimate. And if you lose..." She looked at him with quiet resolve. "Then I die, and they erase everything we built." Dax took her hand. "No. If you go in there, we go in." "Only one warrior can fight under right," she said. He stepped close, his forehead touching hers. "Then I'll be your shield." They entered the Council citadel at dawn. The structure loomed like a mountain, made of obsidian and arrogance. The Zephyrian Council of 13 awaited them in their robes of power, each face emotionless, like masks carved from stone. Eliza strode forward, unflinching. "By right of the Virith bloodline, I invoke the right of flame." A rustle swept the chamber. The High Speaker stood slowly. "You have no claim. You knelt before a human. And yet I stand again," she cut in, her voice thunderous. "Stronger," her words echoed. "The right is old law," another councillor said warily, "but binding. And you must name your champion," said the High Speaker. "I name myself," Eliza declared. She drew her twin blades and stabbed them into the marble floor. The sound rang like thunder. A silence followed. Then came the challenger. Lord Carrick, of the Pale Flame, an ancient warlord rumored to have consumed enemy memories to gain strength. A walking legend of cruelty. He was 7 feet tall, skin like molten rock, and his armor bled with the memories of past kills. Dax watched as they circled the ceremonial fire ring, I can't just stand here, he muttered to himself. I can't lose her. And then, his wristcom buzzed. A message from the rebel command. The council's about to double-cross. They've got snipers hidden in the upper chamber. If Eliza wins, they'll kill her anyway. Rage surged through Dax's veins. This wasn't honor. This was murder with rules. The duel began. Carrick moved like thunder, brute strength and brutal tactics. Eliza danced between his strikes, every move honed by decades of battle. Her armor pulsed with adaptive light, but even so, Carrick's blade clipped her left side, drawing blood. Dax couldn't just watch, not while the council watched from above. Like vultures with hidden blades, he tapped his comm, hacked the frequency, and whispered to the rebel network. Blow the upper windows, now. Explosion. A flash of light, snipers downed in a heartbeat. Council members screamed and scrambled. Dax ran forward, blaster drawn, standing between Eliza and the traitorous counselors. No more tricks. She wins. You stand down. Carrick turned to strike at Dax for interfering, but that was the opening Eliza needed. She spun, kicked Carrick's knee, then stabbed both blades into his back. Not with hate, but justice. He fell. The flame went out, and silence ruled the chamber. Eliza stood victorious, bleeding, but unbowed. The high speaker tried to speak, but Eliza cut him off. You were willing to kill to preserve your control, but Zephyria will not be ruled by fear anymore. She turned to the crowd behind her, to warriors, rebels, even defected officers now flooding into the citadel. I choose peace. I choose unity. I choose a future. They erupted in cheers, and Dax, he stepped beside her, blood on his cheek, but love in his eyes. She's not just a general, he said aloud. She's a revolution. Eliza reached for him, no longer caring who watched, their hands clasped. And in that moment, Zephyria changed, not by sword, but by bond. The fires of revolution were not extinguished overnight, but neither were they quenched by more blood. Eliza and Dax stood at the edge of the Hall of Renewal, where thousands of Zephyrians gathered beneath the twin moons. The once oppressive banners of the council had been torn down, replaced with the sigil of unity, a star cradled between two hands, one human, one Zephyrian. Eliza's wounds were healing, but the deeper ones, the ones in her spirit, took more time. Funny, Dax said, brushing a hand through his hair. When I signed up for recon missions, I didn't think I'd be helping lead an alien revolution. You didn't lead it, Eliza replied, watching the crowd. You inspired it. There's a difference. She turned to face him, her eyes, softer than they had ever been, twilight silver with hints of violet. I was a general, she continued, trained to win battles, not trust, not feel. I spent years serving the council, thinking discipline was honor. And now? Dax asked. She took his hand. Now I understand what true strength looks like. Weeks passed. The council had been dissolved. A transitional coalition had formed between rebel Zephyrians and newly arrived human diplomats. The planet's future would no longer be decided by warlords in ivory towers, but by the voices of its people. And Eliza, she refused to take a throne. I fought to break chains, she told the coalition. I won't forge new ones. Instead, she returned to the outer cities, the places the council had ignored. Alongside Dax, she built schools for mixed colonies, launched efforts to heal war-ravaged villages, and laid the foundation for something neither side had ever truly believed in. Harmony. Their story became legend. Songs were sung of the warrior who loved a human. Dax, reluctant as ever, would laugh every time children asked if he really kissed the general in front of the whole council. Yes, he'd say with a smirk, but she kissed me back. One night, as the auroras danced across the Zephyrian sky, Dax took her hand again, not out of fear. Not out of victory, but something deeper. Eliza. You ever think about tomorrow? She raised an eyebrow. I think about strategy, projections, supply lines. I mean us. What our tomorrow looks like. A pause. She looked at him. This stubborn, brilliant, soft-hearted human who'd risked everything for her. Not just once, but again and again. I do, she whispered. Every day. He smiled. I know we come from different worlds. I know we've both got scars. But I'd like to spend all my tomorrows with you. A beat of silence. Then she stepped closer, her voice trembling. Just a little. Then ask me. He did. And under the glowing skies of a world reborn, she said. Yes, they were married in the ruins of the old citadel, the very place the empire once ruled through fear. The ceremony was simple. No gold, no crowns, just allies and family, warriors and rebels. A fusion of Zephyrian tradition and human hope. Eliza wore light armor over her ceremonial robe. Dax wore a suit with a few scorch marks on it. He said, it gave him character. Their vows were short, but their kiss was long. After all the battles, after all the blood, they had found something greater than victory. They had found each other. Epilogue. Years later, their story was taught to children across both planets, not as a tale of war, but as proof of what happens when love breaks through walls built by fear. Eliza became a symbol, not of conquest, but of choice. And Dax? He was known as the man who made a general fall to her knees, not out of weakness, but because she finally found someone strong enough to lift her back up. If this story stirred your heart, share it with someone who believes in impossible love and fearless change. Because sometimes, all it takes to rewrite history is one human bold enough to love and one alien brave enough to believe.